10 Brits have been reported to the police for war crimes and crimes against humanity committed in Gaza. This is a case brought by a team of lawyers and researchers based in The Hague, which is where, of course, international courts are based. And it's been brought on behalf of the Palestinian Centre for Human Rights and the British-based Public Interest Law Centre, which are representing Palestinians in Gaza and in the UK. Now, this underlines several very important things. There was already an international arrest warrant issued by the International Criminal Court for the Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu, as well as his former Defence Minister Yoav Gallant, for war crimes and crimes against humanity. That case is ongoing, and the chief prosecutor, Karim Khan KC, who is a British barrister, it's worth noting, has made it clear that other evidence is being assessed, which means it's extremely likely further charges will be brought against, say, Netanyahu, but also that other Israeli ministers and army generals and officials and so on will also likely be subjected to international arrest warrants. Now, it's important to note the arrest warrants don't have to be made public. They can be made in secret. Who knows? Maybe other arrest warrants have already been issued. But this is not the only means of getting legal accountability for the grotesque war crimes and crimes against humanity being perpetrated by the Israeli state in Gaza, because foreign nationals from all over the world have gone to Gaza to commit atrocities as part of the Israel Defense Forces, and that is, of course, discussing IDF soldiers, including foreign nationals, who have gleefully posted some of those atrocities online, literally in order to boast and as comedy fodder for the amusement of the Israeli public and pro-Israel cheerleaders. Now, as regards this particular case against 10 Brits, the legal experts include Michael Mansfield KC, one of the most famous living British lawyers, who was called to the bar 58 years ago. The identities of the British suspect have been kept anonymous, as you'd expect, so as not to compromise the legal process, not least by prejudicing future prosecutions. But what we do know is the suspects include those who served as officers in the IDF, so not simply rank-and-file soldiers, though that's important. Let's listen to Michael Mansfield at the press conference outside New Scotland Yard, which is the headquarters of the Metropolitan Police, where this report has been submitted.
After the Second World War, something really important happened. The United Kingdom was in the forefront of establishing an international regime of law and principle and institutions to match in order to prevent the recurrence of the horror that everybody's familiar with during the Second World War. That was the object of the exercise, and the United Kingdom was there in the Nuremberg trials that took place of the German war criminals, was there when it was necessary to construct the principles. Yet, as you may know what's coming, slowly over the years, the efficacy of that structure that they established at that time from 1945 onwards in the various conventions, the United Nations Charter and so on, has risen but is slowly falling, and we're standing on the brink of the collapse of the rule of order, because certain states have taken it upon themselves, and Israel isn't the only one, taken it upon themselves to act with impunity. They act with impunity on the basis that nothing's going to happen to them, and they can carry on with whatever territorial land grab or anything else that they're interested in doing can be done without any repercussions. The very thing that the United Kingdom set its face against from 1945 through to 1948 and right through to the Treaty of Rome, which established the international crimes, the international court.
Some crucial points there, which I'll go on to discuss. Now, the report, which has therefore not been released, includes a detailed examination of crimes committed in Gaza, the involvement of military units, the criminal liability of suspects based on unit affiliations, and roles in Israel's genocide in the first 9 months. We're told the evidence against the British nationals include targeted killing of civilians and aid workers, including by sniper fire, indiscriminate attacks on civilian areas, including hospitals, forced transfer and displacement of civilians, coordinated attacks on protected sites, including historic monuments and religious sites. Testimony from witnesses in Gaza recounts the dead bodies scattered next to each other, with one recalling removing a blanket from the bodies to find the bodies of my uncle and his son, my nephews and my brother-in-law, along with other displaced people's bodies. We're told another witness said soldiers ordered my father, husband and children to strip. The witness testified they were taken one by one into the middle of the glass-strewn living room, where a soldier beats them with an electric cable and a large billiard stick. It goes on. A third witness who was at a medical facility saw corpses scattered on the ground, especially in the middle of the hospital courtyard, where many dead bodies were buried in a mass grave. A bulldozer ran over a dead body in a horrific and heart-wrenching scene, desecrating the dead, the witness recalled. They also said a bulldozer demolished part of the hospital. Each crime, according to the report, includes how each of the crimes alleged against the 10 British suspects amount to a war crime or crime against humanity. This case underlines how action can be taken in the here and now to hold alleged war criminals to account, to deter others from committing war crimes, and to challenge the normalization of some of the worst crimes of our age. The behaviour of the Israeli army screams many things, and one is, as Michael Mansfield discussed earlier on, impunity. Soldiers behave as though committing war crimes is one big hilarious jape because they think they can get away with anything, and as things stand, they can. But it shows that we're not impotent in doing something, quite the reverse. We are obligated, that is, the British state, as signatories to relevant international treaties to investigate and prosecute those committing war crimes and crimes against humanity. As the legal team note, Section 51 of the International Criminal Court Act 2001 states that it is an offence against the law of England and Wales for a person to commit genocide, a crime against humanity, or a war crime, even if it takes place outside this jurisdiction. Furthermore, the Geneva Conventions Act 1957 gives effect to the 1949 Geneva Conventions and criminalises grave breaches of the treaties. Now, the team's already met with representatives from the Metropolitan Police Counter-Terrorism Command's War Crimes team, and they state that an investigation into the conduct of British nationals is safe, proportionate, feasible, and required. There's evidence linking the conduct of British nationals to crimes, crime sites, Israeli military units, and specific conduct. Now, already these legal efforts have had an impact in other countries. Last December, the IDF warned 30 soldiers and officers who had served in the genocidal war in Gaza to avoid travelling abroad because of legal complaints being filed against them for alleged war crimes. According to the Times of Israel, since the beginning of the war, the army has asked soldiers not to publish footage online of their activities during fighting in Gaza to avoid it being used against them in a potential criminal investigation in another country. Well, I mean, that's laughable because the IDF soldiers have been addicted to posting war crimes. Al Jazeera did a documentary last October about this phenomenon, though we should note that the vast majority of Israeli war crimes are not filmed. For example, only because of the incompetence of Israeli soldiers who massacred 15 Red Crescent medics and first responders did we get footage exposing their lies, because they failed to confiscate one of the victims' phones, which showed the army had ambushed ambulances travelling at normal speed, which were lit up appropriately as ambulances and clearly marked as ambulances. Now, there was overwhelming evidence of what happened anyway, but such is the impunity and protection afforded to Israel that the threshold of evidence is astronomical until it's accepted a heinous crime has been committed. And even with that footage, the Western media still hasn't reported it as an objective war crime. At the beginning of January, Israel warned its personnel that they risked arrest after one of its soldiers fled Brazil while being investigated for potential war crimes. It's also striking that a new cache of testimonies from IDF soldiers has just been released by the Israeli human rights organization B'Tselem. The picture they paint is beyond disturbing. For example, a soldier in a tank who was part of a ground incursion to a densely populated area is asked, at the briefings, they talk to you about the civilian population you might encounter. The soldier answers, there is no civilian population. Everyone is a terrorist. Another question, that's the overall atmosphere at the time, but is this the systemic principle guiding the unit? Answer, yes, no innocence. What business has anyone within 500 meters from my tank? The Israeli journalist Dimi Reedy says the report focuses on what he says is the idiotic, futile operation to clear a buffer zone on the inside of the border. He said orders were given to demolish everything within a given sector. Units out of demolition charges were given rusting landmines. And the question to the soldier was, how did it look after? And the answer was Hiroshima. As I've said over and over again, no crime in history has been so confessed to as it happened. No crime in history has been documented as it happened, as much as this one. The case is overwhelming. It's not just those at the top who should be prosecuted. It's the soldiers who committed these war crimes, including Brits. Because as we know, I was just following orders is no excuse. Please like and subscribe, leave your thoughts and your comments. Help us take on the pro-genocide media at patreon.com/OJazz84. Listen to the podcast, share the video. I'll speak to you in a bit.